He didn't flush.
A man was trapped in an infinite loop for unknown reasons. In order to break the deadlock, he actually tortured and killed a group of people, more than 20 times repeatedly. He even tried to end his own life in every possible way, yet he still couldn't put an end to everything. What on earth is going on here? And can he finally get out of the loop? In a restaurant late at night, two customers watched the late-night news with great interest. They even specially asked the waiter to turn up the volume a bit, and the news content was that the city's notorious perverted serial killer had struck again last night, cruelly dismembering a woman who lived alone, urging the general public to pay attention to protecting their own safety. As the news was being broadcast, a man named Charlie walked into the restaurant. Before he could find a place to sit down, he heard a customer at the bar speaking indignantly. The man fiercely said that he would be willing to give up his left ball just to meet this murderous scumbag, and when that time came, he would definitely cut the scumbag into 1,000 pieces. The guy next to him immediately exclaimed that he couldn't do that. Just last week, the man had already bet away the right ball of his lower body. If he lost another one, he would completely become a eunuch. After a while, 3 more guests rushed into the restaurant, saying they were almost starving to death, and demanding that the waiter serve the food quickly. But the restaurant waitress Mary was currently attending to a couple. Then she asked Charlie if he needed help in the order of arrival, but Charlie said a lot of strange things, and even asked Mary to have a meal with him. It seemed like he was trying to hit on her, but Mary didn't fall for that at all. She had absolutely no interest in Charlie, so she rejected him without mercy. But Charlie didn't seem willing to give up. He asked Mary to pour him a cup of coffee. Taking this opportunity, he kept praising how beautiful her eyes were. It made Mary feel sick. Luckily, she finally finished pouring the coffee. After that, she went over to the 3 new guests, and was shocked to find that they were messing with drugs. But Mary didn't want to mind other people's business. She asked the 3 of them what they wanted to order. A young delinquent girl wanted to know what kinds of alcohol were available. Mary replied that only beer was available, but the girl called her an old hag, and looked down on her for being old and tasteless. Meanwhile, Mike, the man beside the girl, wanted to amuse himself and said that he knew Mary. She had been his younger sister's nanny before. Later, she resigned and planned to come here to work as a nurse, but she never expected to end up being a restaurant waitress. Then Mike looked at Mary with a playful expression, saying that the reason she had fallen into such a state was because she was promiscuous. She had gotten pregnant by someone and then been abandoned cruelly. Although what Mike said was the truth, it was still very hurtful. And why did he have to dig up other people's past wounds like that? These words made Charlie grind his teeth in anger. When Mary came over to hand him the menu, he said a few words of comfort and shook her hand, hoping that she could serve him a serving of the signature steak. After that, Mary went to attend to her other tasks. In fact, she should have gotten off work a long time ago, but Anna, who was supposed to take over her shift, had been delayed for a while due to something. When Anna finally hurried over, she was very touched that Mary was willing to help her look after the store, and offered to leave some tips for her. Mary said that such a small matter wasn't necessary, and while speaking, she reminded Anna to keep an eye on table 9. That customer was a very sleazy guy. Out of curiosity, Anna looked outside but saw that table 9 was empty. When Mary heard this, she immediately exclaimed that something was seriously wrong. Charlie had actually run away without leaving a tip. Mary packed up her things and prepared to go home. When she went out, she saw Charlie smoking outside. She brought up the matter of the tip. Charlie asked her if she wanted a cigarette, or if she wanted to go on a date. Mary shook her head and also said that her boyfriend was waiting for her. Then she prepared to flee the scene quickly, but Charlie actually blocked her way. Mary was very angry, and quickly walked around him to go home. But strangely enough, Charlie actually kept following behind her. Mary thought that this man was probably up to no good, so she scolded Charlie to stop following her. But Charlie said that he just wanted to go to his car. Then he walked in front of Mary, but before he had walked very far, he suddenly turned around and pulled out a handgun, telling Mary to go with him obediently, otherwise he would kill her. Mary was terrified and hurriedly said that she had a young daughter. If she died, her daughter would definitely not be able to survive. But Charlie still took her to the car, and threatened Mary to have intimate contact with him. Mary was so scared that she hurriedly said she would obey him. Of course, she said this just to calm him down. She wanted to find an opportunity to escape, but Charlie kept holding her tightly. For this reason, she could only consider herself unlucky. The next second, Charlie suddenly pulled out a knife and stabbed her to death. It's not hard to see from this that Charlie is the serial killer who has been at large all this time. He was just about to celebrate that he had another toy to dismember at the moment he closed his eyes.
It's not a fucking cartoon, Gary.
Hearing the familiar voices, Charlie had a look of utter disbelief on his face. He hurriedly looked around, confused about why he had ended up back in the restaurant again. What confused him the most was that he had clearly killed Mary, yet why was she standing right in front of him, alive and well? Moreover, the two customers at the bar were once again talking about becoming a eunuch, saying exactly the same lines as before. Even all the other guests were the same as before. Before Charlie could figure out what was going on, three gangly young men walked into the restaurant again, saying the same things as earlier. Charlie sat down at table 9 in a daze, when Mary came over to ask if he needed help. He asked what the date was today. Mary gave a normal reply. Charlie then nervously asked if she knew him. Mary said he looked very unfamiliar to her, and she thought they must not have met before. Upon hearing these words, Charlie let out a sigh of relief instantly. He believed he had covered his tracks perfectly every time he committed a murder, so the police still had no information about him at all. He definitely didn't want to be caught because of Mary. Luckily, everything still seemed to be under control. He quickly composed himself, dismissing his previous memories as nothing but illusions, and once again, in his sleazy way, praised Mary for having beautiful eyes, asking her to bring him a serving of the signature steak. It seemed certain that Mary would die tonight. While waiting, Charlie looked over at Tom, a man sitting behind him. He took the initiative to go over and strike up a conversation, asking if Tom had two sets of memories, or anything like that. But Tom just kept his head down, eating French fries the whole time, showing no intention of responding to Charlie at all. This left Charlie with no idea what to do. He checked the time and saw that it was almost time. Charlie picked up his cigarettes and went to the door to wait for Mary. Just like before, Mary walked out of the restaurant and took the initiative to bring up the matter of the tip. Charlie rambled on incoherently about something. Mary didn't want to listen to his nonsense, so she walked around him to go to her car. Charlie hurried to follow her, but this time, instead of walking in front of her, he immediately pulled out a gun and pointed it at Mary, threatening that if she dared to scream for help, she would die. Mary begged him not to kill her, saying she still had a young daughter who needed her care. Charlie said he knew all about that. Then he took her to the car again, and committed the brutal act.
Hey, could you turn that up?
Charlie looked at Mary, whom he had killed twice, still being alive, while the customers in the restaurant were just like before, talking about exactly the same topics as well. He broke down, thinking he must have been caught up in a prank, that everyone in the restaurant had ganged up to make a fool of him. How could a murderous fiend like him stand being treated this way? He glared at Mary angrily, and demanded she lift up her clothes, wanting to check if there was a blood bag hidden underneath. A customer standing nearby stepped forward to stand up for Mary, and Charlie immediately pulled out his handgun without hesitation.
I said.
Then Charlie pointed the muzzle of the gun at Mary's forehead, and ordered her to lift her clothes quickly, otherwise he would blow her brains out. Mary knew she couldn't die, so she compliantly lifted her clothes up. Finding nothing inside Mary's clothes, Charlie was very shocked. He suspected that he had met with a monster. Otherwise, why would Mary have an immortal body? Just then, the three gangsters opened the restaurant door. They were about to shout arrogantly that they were starving to death. Charlie immediately used the gun to make them shut up. The three of them fled in a panic out of fear. The next second, Charlie appeared unharmed at the restaurant door, staring at the man who had shot him in the head just moments before. Charlie was so angry that he rushed over and shouted obscenities furiously, yelling and cursing, demanding that both the man and Mary die. The two people being scolded felt completely confused, but this time, Charlie didn't linger. Instead, he left the restaurant. He thought this place was very eerie, so he quickly started his car to leave, but he had only driven a dozen or so meters when he suddenly found himself back at the restaurant door once again. Charlie was so scared that he took off running as fast as he could. Charlie was very devastated. No matter how hard he ran, he would always end up back at the restaurant, and the people and things he met with were always exactly the same. After going through this cycle more than a dozen times, he finally realized that he had actually fallen into an infinite loop. In order to find a way to break the loop, he shot someone right at the door. After doing so, he went outside and cautiously tried to see if he had escaped the predicament. but the result was still the same. As soon as the tip of his foot stepped out of the designated area, he immediately went back to the restaurant door. It was clear that this method of breaking the loop had failed. Charlie decided to try approaching other customers. He sat down at table 9. Mary came over to ask what he wanted to order. Charlie didn't compliment her this time. Instead, he said he didn't need anything, but Mary reminded him that he couldn't occupy a seat without buying anything. Charlie had no choice but to order a cup of coffee. During this time, he kept staring intently at Lily, the woman in red. He noticed that she went to the bathroom. As she had done in previous cycles, he quickly asked Mary to bring him another serving of the signature steak. After Mary left, Charlie sat down across from Tom, saying that he seemed to be trapped in a time loop, and asking if Tom had any way to fix it. Unexpectedly, Tom actually spoke a sentence this time. This was a good sign. Right after that, Charlie ran to the bathroom door to wait for Lily. He looked around but didn't find anything unusual. He then sat down next to the couple. He started asking all kinds of questions right away, saying he wanted to know more about them. This made the couple think they had met a lunatic. They didn't dare to offend someone like him, so they told him to ask whatever he wanted. But Charlie was really too arrogant. He even reached out and put his arm around the woman next to him, then leaned in to whisper something in her ear. When the man saw his girlfriend being harassed, he flew into a rage immediately and stood up, ready to fight Charlie, but Charlie actually pulled out a gun. The man's initiative turned into passivity in an instant. The man sat back down in his seat obediently. Charlie guessed that the couple each had their own families, but were sneaking out to have an affair behind their families' backs. The man actually admitted it. Charlie then started talking nonsense, claiming that the man's wife had sent him, and had offered a large sum of money to have the man killed. The man was so scared that he was completely frozen in place.
I was just fucking with y'all.
Right after that, Charlie returned to table 9 to eat his steak. This was the first time he had actually waited until the steak was served. In order to learn more about the other people, he carried his meal and walked over to Lily's side, and struck up a conversation with her. In his sleazy tone again, this ruined Lily and her colleague Kate's mood for chatting. They picked up their things and got ready to leave. Charlie followed them, wanting to see if they could help him get out of the loop, but it was a failure. After going back to the restaurant again, Charlie took the initiative to walk over to the TV, and skillfully turned up the volume. As if he had done it many times before, Mary rushed over in a hurry, telling him that he shouldn't get into her work area without permission. She asked if Charlie came to the restaurant often. Charlie replied that he was a regular customer, but Mary had no memory of him at all. Then Charlie started chatting with the two men at the bar again. After just a few words, he saw Lily getting up to go to the bathroom. Charlie immediately found a knife, rushed into the bathroom, and killed her. After killing her, he even had a look of enjoyment on his face. This time, he planned to kill more people, convinced that he would be able to get out of the loop eventually. Just then, a restaurant staff member came over and asked Charlie what he was doing in the women's bathroom. Charlie lied, saying he had cleaned up some trash, and even asked the staff member to go with him to take out the garbage. The staff member didn't think much of it, and followed him out. When they reached the trash can, the staff member was about to take out the trash, only to see that the cart was actually full of human body parts.
What the ¿Qué chingados es? What the fuck?
Then Charlie threw the staff member's body into the trash can. He was just thinking about who to kill next when, unexpectedly, his next target came to him on her own. Kate asked Charlie if he had seen Lily. Charlie told her to get in his car, saying he would drive her around the area for a few laps, and they would find Lily soon. But Kate was very alert and walked away as she spoke. Charlie didn't bother to chase her. Instead, he picked up his knife and went back to the restaurant. Before long, Kate, who hadn't found Lily either, also went back to the restaurant, saying that Lily had gone to the bathroom and then disappeared. Her car was still in the parking lot, but no one knew where she had gone. She had no idea that Lily was already dead. Mary asked everyone if they had seen Lily. Charlie said he would let them know if he saw her. Then he went over to interrupt the conversation between that cheating couple, finding their intimate gestures utterly disgusting. Right in front of the cheating man, Charlie slit the cheating woman's carotid artery. The cheating man was so scared that he didn't dare to breathe. Charlie was very satisfied, and said with a playful look on his face that both the cheating man and the cheating woman deserved to die.
Did you read the Bible? Well, it's in there.
Other guests asked what had happened. Charlie explained that his friend had had too much to drink, and while speaking, he even asked everyone to help call a taxi. But just then, the cheating woman's body suddenly collapsed. Kate insisted on going forward to check on the situation. Charlie tried every way to stop her, and finally, having no other choice, he pulled out his handgun. He confessed that he was a serial killer, and was in the middle of talking about himself in detail. Mike shouted and ran away. Charlie didn't chase him, thinking that one fewer death probably wouldn't matter. As he spoke, he looked towards the kitchen, and realizing the chef wasn't inside, he knew he was about to get beaten up. Charlie went back to the restaurant again. He thought the problem was most likely with Tom, because this guy was too mysterious, and gave off a very unusual vibe, but no matter what he said, Tom would only say at most one sentence. Charlie, flying into a rage out of humiliation, went on a killing spree, and even started using various cruel methods, like smothering someone to death with a mop, or throwing a rope to strangle Lily when she was in the bathroom. In short, every person had died no fewer than dozens of times, yet Charlie still couldn't get out of the loop. So tonight, he decided to kill to his heart's content. After all, he was born with a craving for killing. He would kill Mike for not flushing the toilet, kill anyone he didn't like, kill young girls who went astray at a young age. But no matter how many times he killed, everyone would come back to life. What was the point of this? It was like playing a game. You might find a certain level interesting the first few times you play it, but after playing it too many times, you'd feel sick just looking at it. What's more, even if Charlie did nothing at all, when it reached the time he first killed Mary, he would still return to the restaurant and the loop would restart. The game time was just too short. If it were just a bit longer, it wouldn't be this boring. He had really had enough of the loop. In order to eat something different, he angrily rushed into the kitchen, demanding to eat the eggs the chef had hidden, but the chef told him to get out immediately. Then Charlie was dragged out of the kitchen. When the next loop started, he went to the kitchen again, took out the eggs, and asked the chef to make fried eggs for him. But the chef insisted that he didn't serve lunch at night. Charlie had no way to deal with him, since he couldn't cook at all. He could only beg the chef to help make the eggs, but the chef still refused. He didn't want to use the gun either, so he rushed forward again to fight the chef. Unexpectedly, the chef's muscles were even harder than stone. Actually, Charlie was quite surprised. The chef was like a newly developed game dungeon, which aroused his desire to clear the level. He was determined to eat those eggs today, no matter what, but the chef had real martial arts skills. With just a spatula, he smashed Charlie into a pulp. Sometimes, the chef would use a kitchen knife instead, or press Charlie's head onto the hot griddle, until it sizzled and oozed oil. When Charlie really had no other tricks left, he would shoot back in retaliation. In the end, he gave in and decided to try practicing cooking himself. Somehow, after going through all kinds of hardships, he finally got to eat the fried eggs. Charlie had a look of contentment on his face, feeling that his life had no regrets, so he shot himself to end his life. The next second, he woke up groggily from the table. In a daze, he saw an old man. This was a brand new character. Charlie was so excited that he let out a squeal like a pig, but right after that, the old man disappeared. Charlie felt like he was going to be driven crazy. Mary came over to ask if he needed help. Charlie yelled at her fiercely, then told her to pour him a cup of coffee. After Mary left, Charlie looked around in a state of collapse. Charlie woke up from the table again. He roared and told Mary to bring him coffee, but when he looked up, he saw two policemen. The policeman asked him to go outside to talk. Charlie broke down and shouted that he couldn't go out. As expected, the moment the policeman dragged him out of the restaurant, he woke up from the table again, listening to the words that kept repeating in his ears. Charlie felt like his head was about to explode. He badly wanted to get a good night's sleep, but the loop wouldn't let him sleep at all. In his desperation, Charlie woke up right in front of Tom. This time, Tom talked to him about a lot of negative philosophies. Charlie broke down and said that he had killed Mary at least 20 times, so why hadn't he been able to end the loop yet? Tom mocked him, calling him a rookie and a good-for-nothing loser. Charlie was also helpless and shouted that he had clearly already killed everyone, yet he still couldn't end all of this. Tom hit him with a soul-stirring question. Had he really killed everyone? Charlie froze. Suddenly, it dawned on him, he had forgotten someone. To verify his idea, he first killed the cheating man who had stood up, then the cheating woman, Lily, and Kate, Mike in the bathroom, the staff member who wanted to check the bathroom, the two men at the bar, the chef, and the remaining two gangsters. After killing everyone outside, Charlie held Mary at gunpoint and took her to the storage room in the back kitchen. At this point, Anna, who knew nothing about what had happened, hurried over to work. She changed into her work clothes and got ready to start working. Now, only Mary was left. Charlie walked slowly up to Mary and told her about his tragic experience. He said he had been forced to keep doing the same things over and over again, and couldn't sleep at all. He didn't even have the right to die. Luckily, everything that had started with Mary was finally going to end with Mary. After saying that, Charlie immediately stabbed Mary in the kidney. The next second, he appeared at the restaurant door again. When he heard the familiar voices in his ears, Charlie completely broke down. He walked out of the restaurant in despair and got into his pickup truck. Finally, he couldn't hold back anymore and burst into tears. Charlie sat down at table 9 again, but this time, something was different. He saw that a new character had appeared at the bar. He stepped forward carefully and touched the man wearing a prayer robe. Convinced that this priest was truly real, he excitedly asked the priest why he had come here. Instead, the priest asked him what he had learned. Charlie said he wanted to go home, but the priest thought it wasn't time yet. He then asked Charlie again why he had come here.
Salvation.
When talking about this, Charlie unconsciously looked towards Tom. Tom kept shaking his head vigorously, obviously telling him not to believe such things. But Charlie had tried so many times before, but still couldn't escape. Now he believed that what the priest said was the truth. The world was so big, he didn't want to be trapped in the loop for the rest of his life. He asked what he should do. The priest told him to start over. Immediately after, Charlie appeared at the restaurant door again. He walked over leisurely to watch the news and fiercely condemned the heinous acts of the serial killer. After that, he checked the time, went outside the restaurant to wait for the 3 gangsters, and gave them a good lesson. Then he went back to the restaurant and ordered food normally. This time, he didn't treat Mary as a target. Mary had a very good impression of him. While waiting for his food, Charlie went to express his gratitude to the 2 nurses for their hard work, and even helped pay for their meals. After doing this, Charlie went to the cheating couple again, saying that his father often cheated on his mother and committed domestic violence, and his mother, overwhelmed with despair and anger, took all her frustration out on him. Such things caused the greatest harm to children. Charlie hoped the cheating couple would think more about their children. Then Charlie drank and chatted with the 2 men at the bar. When he went out to smoke halfway through, Mary took the initiative to come over and talk to him, hoping Charlie could give her a cigarette too. Charlie was very surprised. The 2 of them had a very pleasant chat afterwards. So when Charlie offered to walk Mary to the parking lot, she agreed without hesitation. When they arrived, Charlie reminded her to be careful of bad people and told her to get in the car quickly, but Mary was reluctant to leave. She walked over, slowly, kissed Charlie, and suggested they enjoy the beautiful night together. So Charlie asked her to get in his car. To be honest, this feeling was quite strange. Mary's initiative was beyond his expectation. After that, the 2 were about to make love, but as soon as the time came, Charlie once again stabbed Mary in the kidney with a knife. When he opened his eyes again, he saw the priest in front of him. The priest said that he was actually a psychiatrist. Up to this point, nothing seemed out of the ordinary, but when a nurse got into the ward, Charlie's emotions became very agitated, because he knew that face all too well. The doctor comforted him and told him not to be afraid.
Our patients will sometimes project people they see into the simulation. It's not her.
It turned out that the so-called loop was just a test conducted by the hospital to confirm whether Charlie was a killer, and the fact proved that he was indeed one. He was a madman who loved to kill crazily. His mind was filled with all kinds of evil thoughts, so he would have to spend the rest of his life in prison. And next, the doctor would also test other guilty people. This method of having patients take part in simulated tests can effectively force criminals to face the humanity behind their own actions, break through their psychological defenses, shatter their inherent perceptions, turn them into sympathetic normal humans, and make the world a better place. But many people are skeptical of this method, believing that those criminals are inherently heinous, and making them repeatedly experience the most disgusting evil deeds they once committed is really too strange, not to mention whether some criminals will break down and take their own lives after returning to reality. The fact that they keep repeating their evil acts is essentially a second injury to the victims and their families, yet the doctor who developed this method still wants to persist. Charlie roared that he hadn't slept for a long time, and that it would be better to let him die. But the nurse who looked like Mary didn't stop. After injecting the medicine into Charlie,
Say hi to my mom.
from here, it can be seen that this nurse is actually supposed to be Mary's daughter, while the real Mary had long been killed by Charlie. The next second, Charlie arrived at the restaurant again, and the movie ends here. Seeing this kind of loop theme immediately reminds people of the movie Triangle, but this movie actually created its own unique style. It breaks the framework. That breaking the loop must be the self-rescue of an innocent person. Instead, it unfolds from the perspective of a perverted killer, making him suffer mental torment over and over again, and the male lead's crazy killing spree, and the accumulation of corpses throughout the film, bring viewers a unique visual impact. On the whole, it's quite surprising. If you like my channel, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe.